Hello, I'm Steve,
And I'm Caroline.
and we adopted our two children just over 2 years ago.
They were just coming up to 2 years old and just coming up to 3 years old.
It's probably not a typical story, to be honest. We went for many years, probably considering we weren't going to have children and not necessarily seeking them, both career driven. And I think over the years we then decided that there was room in our life for children.
We had a nice lifestyle, don't get us wrong. We had lovely holidays, meals out, but we felt there was something missing, that we wanted to fill a gap really.
The first thing we did actually was to contact the local authority, and we went to one of their adoption evenings. One of your friends had adopted through
What was Cabrini.
Cabrini at the time, now Diagrama, and highly recommended them. We got in contact with them, and
We had a chat with Kira, didn't we?
Kira came around. Yeah,
we had a chat with her on the telephone first.
Yeah, and it was a completely different situation, and we knew we were with the right people straight away.
We did our paperwork really, really quickly for the stage one, and when we went to our prep group, the Diagrama prep groups, we were the first people in our group to have filled in all of our stage one paperwork, and to move on to the stage two. When your social worker comes and sees you most weeks, I think we had our social worker, didn't we, for quite a few months, coming and having chats with us.
Yeah, very, very in-depth
really
chats.
Long chats.
I think she knew more about us than our family did, and to be honest, it unearthed a few things that we weren't aware of with each other, and I think it's been healthy, to be honest, that some things came out, and I feel we know each other better as a result of that. So I don't think it's something to be feared, but you do have to go into it with a very open mind and be prepared to be open.
Yeah, and we said right from the beginning, if we were going to do it, we were going to be honest with any professionals and with each other, because otherwise there's no point in trying to censor what you're thinking or what you're going to say, because you just tie yourself up in knots about that. So we decided very early on that we would be open and honest and truthful to ourselves. But the paperwork was just quite interesting, wasn't it? Doing your life chronology and all those bits and pieces. Yeah, so we had 5 or 6 couples, including us, on our group. Very similar ages to us, really, which were, how old were we? Early 40s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, early 40s,
something
so
like that.
roughly sort of similar ages to us, really. Lots of them, well, a couple of the couples had already got birth children and they were looking to extend their families through adoption, but then there were 3 or 4 other couples that adoption was the
It's interesting.
step.
Everybody's story was different, wasn't
Completely
it?
different.
And no two couples were the same.
And they covered a little bit about the reasons why children come into the care system to be looked after, and how that can affect some of the children in terms of their development and things, and their attachment. So there was quite a bit around attachment and attunement to children's needs, and what happens if that isn't met when they're very little.
I think everyone remembers the bit where a baby's being passed around from one couple to the next, and the
to
realities
symbolise
of
the birth family.
That's what it's like for some of these children, that they end up staying with lots of different people during the early years of their lives
Before they find their family. So being passed from birth parent to a maternal grandparent or a paternal grandparent, and then into respite or onto foster care, and then or maybe back with birth family member like an auntie, but then that isn't viable, so that it moves back into care, and every time that happens, what then happens to the child as a result of that. And it's
Gets you thinking.
quite realistic in terms of this is a person and they are just being pushed from pillar to post, and it's understandable how that can affect a baby, or a young child.
It all seems theory at the time, though, doesn't it? And it's it's interesting now seeing it sort of through, seeing the real true impact on children, at a later date. But it sort of feels like a job interview, doesn't it? Or something like that. If everyone's telling you in advance that you'll be okay, it's not a problem.
They were saying, we wouldn't be taking you to panel if we weren't confident that you'd be approved. But you still don't know, because you don't want to fluff it up
saying
on the
we've
day.
got no chance, and what they're going to ask us, and all of that sort of thing.
And trying to rehearse answers to questions that you don't know that they're going to ask. It's like the job interview thing, and it's like the interview for the most important job in the world. You don't want to get it wrong. It's just the anticipation of what are they going to ask, because all of the questions your social workers asked you, and you're sort of thinking, why did I want to adopt? What can we offer potential children? So you've got all the things running through your mind, and you just don't want to say the wrong thing. And you think, how are they going to be a friendly bunch of people? Because we knew there'd be quite a number of people on the panel. You sort of think, oh my goodness, how do you have to behave? And it was scary. I was just a nervous wreck. I can remember feeling really nervous.
I think I was probably more nervous on matching panel, actually.
And then we had the panel, and they were really nice and friendly.
Yeah.
And the questions weren't very challenging at all, really. They'd read all of our stage 1 and stage 2 documents anyway, so they knew a lot about us from all of the assessments that had been completed by the social workers and things anyway.
And realistically, all the hard work had been done in all the paperwork, and obviously nothing significant came out of that for us in a negative way. So,
and we had to go along to a little room after they'd finished asking us the questions. We went along to another little room while the panel deliberated, and then the chair of the panel called us back into the main room to get the verdict. And it was just like the walk from, it must have been about 10 steps, but it just felt like, oh my goodness, what are they going to say? So it was it was a unanimous decision, and they were very happy to approve us to adopt 2 children between 0 and 6 years, because that's what we'd sort of said. So it felt a bit surreal, actually, I think, for me.
It was probably relief, I think.
I think that was the biggest emotion. Yeah. It's like,
and it's
relax.
Sort of it's well named with the stages, because it's adoption is different stages all the time.
But we went out with our friends who were the couple before us, because they'd been approved. We'd been approved. They waited for us and texted them when we came out. And they said, we're in the pub at such and such, and we went round and we had some bubbles, didn't we?
We did.
Remember them saying, we're going to be parents, It's like, oh yeah, we're going to be parents.
It's not easy. We decided fairly early on the type of medical issues and background issues that we could manage, and we were always drawn to 2 younger children, 1 boy, 1 girl, so there always seemed to be limited opportunities. So you see a group of 20 different groups of children, and there might be one that's a young boy and a girl, and so we were often looking at children which didn't necessarily quite fit. It might be 2 boys, might be 2 girls, might be 3 or 4, and
our social worker kept saying, no, just stick to your guns. That's what you decided you wanted. Let's not, we haven't exhausted all of our options. Let's just be a little bit patient. Let's keep looking, keep waiting. But every day feels like an eternity when you're looking on these websites and not finding your children, and waiting for the next sort of event to come around, so the exchange days and things. And we went to 3 exchange days. The first one was in Warsaw, which was huge, in a football stadium, and it's a very strange environment. There are lots of stands from local authorities that are profiling the children that they've got on their caseloads who are looking for families, and you're standing there looking at lots of A4 pieces of paper with these little children's faces on, saying, please be my mummy and daddy, or be my forever family. And you sort of have to discount them if they're not the children you're looking for, which feels a bit cruel. But equally, if you do see some children you like, or you think could be a good match, then you're wanting to try and speak to the social worker behind the desk to put your best foot forward and try and make a good impression.
Strangely, we decided to go all the way up to Wales, North Wales.
It was only a couple of days after the West Ham one as well.
Yeah.
So we've come from this enormous one to this one with 5 tables.
But as it turns out, we met our children there. So basically, we went to one of the tables. We were fortunate enough to see a video, and we would, just straight away we were drawn to it, and we had to watch it a couple of times. Yeah,
I think we were just standing there with like really daft grins on our faces while we were watching this DVD. And the social worker said, "Oh, you're quite taken with those 2, aren't you?" So it was a little boy and a little girl. And we just did want to sort of reach into the screen and grab them. And just could imagine them being here, and could imagine them being with us and wanting to help them with their particular difficulties that was obvious that they'd got on the DVD. And then we had a really long chat. The social worker, wasn't the children's social worker, but he represented the local authority. He asked us lots of questions, didn't he, and was making lots and lots of notes. And he said he'd worked with Cabrini, as they were at the time, he'd worked with Cabrini before from their local authority and had quite good things to say about them, and knew this geographical area where we were from as well. So it felt that we could speak to him really easily, and there weren't hundreds of people competing for his attention because it was such a small event. They're the most constant thing in each other's life, though. They're the only thing that they've had that has been any stability is the 2 of them in their relationship, much longer than they've had anything else. So
that's the thing about the sibling relationship is the longest one that you're probably going to have with anybody.
But for all of the adverse experiences that they've had, it's even more important that they're together. We were having regular visits from Diagrama social worker, who was just, she was great, just checking in with us, how we're getting on, how the children getting on, and then the children's local authority did some statutory visits as well.
But no one was really giving help necessarily.
No.
And we were advised to keep it fairly low key and just us for a period of time, and just get a routine and stick to it.
So we were just all focused on that. Let's get the routine, let's get them used to the house, let's get them used to us, let's get them used to the car, and absolutely, just and making everything small and manageable so that they felt safe. I think we first started getting sort of therapeutic support quite a long way in, actually, wasn't it? Really good 6 months, 7 months. It was in the April. The children came home in the October. It was the following April, where our social worker from Diagrama asked one of the psychologists from Diagrama to come and see us, because we were having quite a few challenges with the children's behaviour. And then from there, some recommendations were made, and then we've got more therapeutic support after that.
I think the best support that we've probably got is from our peer group, and so it's from other adopters. Be that our friends that we meet every week, and there's a group of us as well. There's others, and also the online community, because there are groups on Facebook and Twitter, and you can. There's always someone who's going through the same things that you're going through, and it's quite unique because there's probably not anyone else in your street that's going through it. But being able to have a group of people who are on Twitter and will respond to you if you say you're having struggling with X,
someone's been through it too, and they can give you advice about what worked for them and what didn't, or just to acknowledge that what you're going through is rubbish and they've been there, but it gets better, or it's not like that forever, or it's not like that for long. So that's been good. But it's really interesting because in the early stages, in your stage 1, you draw an eco map of who are your friends and family and who do you think is going to support you through your adoption journey. And we had a big map of 20-30 people who could all offer us lots of support and practical advice and physical help. Actually, the reality is hardly any of those have been very useful because they haven't been through the experience that we've been through, or they haven't got the skills or the knowledge or the time or energy to do that. And our support has come from a lot of people that we didn't even know 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're actually really close friends and actually really valuable to us.
It's the best advice I could give any prospective adopter is to make friends on the way with other prospective adopters, and it's invaluable.
Yeah, that shared something about those shared experiences that you can't. I don't know. It's priceless, isn't it? Because
everyone's journey is different, but there are connections. Yeah.